Today I'm going to do another flight on my Multiplex PA20 Pacer. I've done a lot of modifications on my plane, so I have an Avian 30 amp speed controller inside, and I also changed the prop to a 10x5 APC thin electric, so I do 4S on this RS airplane. No worries, it works just great. I also replaced the wheels then, so these are much softer wheels than the stock ones. Day Brown around 3.5 inches, so hopefully these will improve kind of the bouncing on this RS airplane. I also increased authority then on the ailerons and on the rudder, and I also set up my ailerons to do flaperons on this RS airplane. And the flaperon setting I just discovered for this plane, the way I do it, I have like 80% for full flaps. And I actually have to do like 20% up elevator. So usually you have down elevator just to compensate for the other lift. But with this plane, it doesn't really work like that. So I do have to have like an up elevator, which is kind of interesting. So let's go outside then and just try these modifications on this PA20 once more. Lovely morning to fly any RS airplane. Today I have the Multiplex PA20 Pacer. It's a great looking model. I do have a 4S battery in mine as I replaced the speed controller then, so I can do 4S. And with 4S it's really agile and speedy, much more fun to fly. This is a lightweight RS airplane, so it doesn't feature flaps or any kind of a features when you purchase it. But I set up flaperons on this plane then, and I'm still experimenting just to nail down the perfect flap setting, because unusually I have to do up elevator with full flaperons then, so kind of interesting. I'm also experimenting just with how slow and slow I can get this plane before I land. I also have this Dave Brown softer wheels than the stock wheels, because there's very little give to the landing gears, and this plane likes to bounce when you land. As you can see, I mean, with the 4S battery inside, it's really agile and fun. It doesn't really roll too fast, so in comparison then you have kind of the Tundra version 3, which is also a lightweight plane. It's a little bit long, wider wingspan than this plane, but the Tundra then, overall I think that the Tundra is a much better plane than this Pacer, but still I'm really enjoying to fly this plane. I think it's an interesting look also. I don't know if PA20 is a usual model, but I mean it does look different than, for instance, the PA18. And I'm also interested to do more like Multiplex RS airplanes, because I've experienced so many E-flite FMS planes, so nice to try another brand also. And really this plane should have been kind of a 4S in stock configuration, because it really comes alive when you have a 4S battery inside. And overall a really well controlled plane. Of course I wish for this plane to have it's been really nice to do float flying on the Pacer. So far I haven't found a matching float set, because there are no kind of a rear float mount on this plane, so you have to make something up. So that's on the wish list then for the future, because I think this would be a nice float plane to fly. You surely go really slow, but you can also see that it just likes to bounce a little bit when you land. Overall, a very easy plane to fly, easy to get up. And if you have, I mean, this place is limited, so you really have to narrow down your approach when you're about to land. More or less just turn before you get it down, but with a little bit of practice, you can really get it in a good shape.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
Stall turns are very well controlled. So with the increased aileron authority then, I think it rolls at least much better than the stock setting where you have kind of a really limited aileron authority. Maybe it's set up to be more kind of a beginner RC plane, but if you're a beginner, I think you will be much happier to purchase something like the FMS Ranger 1.2 or even the Tundra version 3. I think it's of course it's a more featured plane, so you have to fiddle with flaps and the reverse thrust also if you want to make use of it. But so I think that the FMS Ranger then is just a perfect beginner plane, and you also get the float set included with the Ranger. So that's just my thoughts then. They can really go slow and turn quite steep also without the plane biting you. That's the advantage then of having a more lightweight plane, is that they handle slow flying so much better than unnecessary weight on any plane really. So you have kind of the Night Timber X and Timber X planes, 1.2 meter wingspan, so it's a little bit wider than this plane. But these are much heavier planes, so you can't really go as stupidly slow as with this plane. So, I mean, all RC planes, they have kind of their pros and cons. Maybe the greatest con on this plane then is that it's not kind of the most fun or agile plane. It's not the cheapest. It's not. I mean, it's just in the middle somewhere where you surely can enjoy it. But there, at the same time, there are so many other great planes. So, I mean, if you're interested to try something different from a little bit more unusual brand, maybe it could be a good experience. And I also think that when you fly lots of different planes and they have kind of their quirks and things you have to fiddle with, you do become a better RC pilot. And even though this is not a difficult plane to fly, you surely have to just practice your landings to get it down without it bouncing around. So it's a really enjoyable plane to fly once you just figure out everything. And certainly for a beginner, well, it's okay, but I think that the FMS Ranger is a better plane for a beginner. With these tweaks then on this Pacer, I think it starts to become a really good plane that just suits me. And I think that the whole process then of having kind of in the RC hobby then to purchase something and do improvements and adjust things, and in the end just have something that is much better than when you just picked it out of the box and assemble it. I think that's just a fantastic experience, and I think that is, at least to me, one of the things that I really love about this hobby, just to do things with your hand and just improve both the models and also your flying skills. And this Pacer certainly has been a really good journey just to get it to fly the way I want to fly it. So on the forest battery then, I think it just handles fantastic. The Flaperon setting is a little bit wonky, but they do work and they do slow down the plane a little bit, not as real flaps. I still think that, I mean, these landing gears, they are really stiff, and it's a lightweight RC plane, so it will just continue to bounce. I will live with that. I will certainly just try even softer wheels, because I have some other wheels that I used on my E-flite RV7 that are truly really soft, so I will try these wheels as well. Just as orientation with this RC plane, fantastic. Over time then I just started to move the battery a little bit more towards the rear, and then I have a much more pleasing flying experience. So that's a great improvement also. And in general, I think that the prop sound is nice, the visibility is nice, the agility on 4S and increased throw then on the ailerons and rudder. I mean, it's just a nice flying RC plane, this Pacer. And I'm glad I just purchased it and tried a new model, then a new Multiplex RC plane. So high wing RC planes, Cub style, one of my favorite combinations, just the right size, and with some tweaks then just a great flying RC plane.